Thanks. That was a warm welcome. So I came in here with one poetry in mind, or one piece in mind, and I ended up feeling called to do a totally different one that I honestly haven't even read through myself in a little while. And I don't think I've done it before. I'm pretty sure I haven't done it anywhere before. Nice. So I have a lot of different ancestors and folks that made it possible for me to be standing in front of you right now. So part of my identity is as a Latina, but part of my identity is also as someone with indigenous ancestors, but I also have European ones and African ones. So it's just quite a journey, and I've been learning a lot about our family's background and discovering some things. So with that said, y'all know how things are right now, given the climate, not only since we use Velveeta Voldemort in our house, but since all of that shit began in January, and then how things have escalated this week. So my community has been on my heart and at the forefront of my mind since day one, really. And since day one, my mom is from Puerto Rico, and Puerto Ricans are what? Who knows? U.S. citizens, right, exactly. So since for 100 years, over 100 years. So my mom was born in Puerto Rico. What does it matter where you're born? You're a U.S. citizen. My dad was a white guy from Beaver Creek. It doesn't matter. I'm a U.S. citizen, right? But we present as plausibly deportable, right? So ever since day one, I copied my birth certificate, and I've got a pretty sturdy, reusable plastic envelope type of thing, and it's always in my bag. I live in Yellow Springs. If I'm going down to the grocery store, I don't stress as much, although I should probably now. But I don't. I feel pretty safe in my town. But if I'm coming out to Dayton for something, absolutely. I forgot it. I turn around, I go back and get it. This kiddo here in the pink shirt is my Zuzu, and Zoo looks a lot like their daddy, pretty fair-skinned. So their birth certificate's in there too, because I'm thinking, if something happens, I want my child safe as fast as possible. So if I have their documentation right there, then they can just release them right to daddy or release them right to my mom, whoever, and my kid's safe at least. To have to think in those ways, I can't believe I just said all of that out loud and that's the reality that we're living in, but it is. Puerto Ricans were scooped up in a raid in a Cleveland grocery store within the first month. Had some Jamaican folks that were totally legit and legal and had all of their paperwork in place, and it was a Jamaican mom and her kid, and they were detained for several hours, and I can't imagine the trauma that kid went through, let alone what mom's experiencing, right? But to put children through the stuff that they've been putting children through is just unconscionable. So with that said, this piece is written to pay homage and respect and kind of lift up that part of what's going on for my community. And if you'd like to get involved, there's my plug for one of the many hats I wear. LULAC is like the Latino NAACP. It's LULAC. We have LULAC Dayton, and we have LULAC Ohio. There's LULAC councils all across the country, and it's an over 90-year-old civil rights organization that's been doing work with the Latina communities for quite some time and partnering with other fellow communities of color and organizations of color as well. So we're right now just focused on helping the organizations that are boots on the ground doing work. So if you want to find out how to get involved, hit them up. Ohio Immigrant Coalition is another excellent resource as well in the state, doing amazing work, and they're really just right there on the forefront. So thank you. All right. I don't have a title for this, but untitled shit. That works for now. I can't begin to imagine how he felt or that moment, nor how he felt watching this horrific nightmare unfold since 45, this was written for Velveeta 1.0, since 45 began his tyrannical reign. To see all of this being done to our fellow Latinas is hard enough, but to worry at any point that it could be you, and then find that day has come. I've no doubt being ripped away from his family and facing such an unknown path must have been devastating. I felt myself shift from crying to rage to action since I first heard the news. And I carried whatever small piece of the burden I could for his family as they pulled together all parts of their action plan. I consulted with an immigration attorney friend to see if their lawyer was a reputable one. I helped keep the details out of the public eye as long as I could, but and as long as they wished for privacy. But small towns, what do you do? In the end, he was okay. With people knowing, in the end, he was okay with people knowing and moved by how many care and wanted to help. And this beautiful town rallied and mobilized quickly, holding a meeting the same night the news broke. Many hands went to work quickly, writing character letters with many more ready to donate to legal fees as soon as it was needed. As I tried to lift some of the burden from my friends' loved ones, I knew I carried a piece of this with me. It visits me in waves like grief, this reality, this knowing. I think of when our Latina brothers and sisters in Sandusky were raided summer before last. They were told of a meeting with donuts in the break room and met with ICE agents instead. Sitters were left to care for crying children whose parents were then in jail. And some homes where the eldest would watch over the little ones until mommy and papi came home. That still a child frame took on the weight of woman or man of the house. And I can't help but see the face of my friend's eldest child stepping up to the same test. Just 5 months ago, about 50 of us stood outside the ICE detention facility in Morrow County as part of a national movement at those locations. Lights for Liberty was a call to action, to stand up and demand conditions be addressed immediately. Speakers shared personal testimony, songs were sang in pain and perseverance, prayers offered, and a funeral procession was recreated in recognition of the 10 migrant children who had died in the previous year. As we made our way through the parking lot, we were alongside the building with windows into the area where the detainees were held, and I saw their faces in the window, and I called out, "Estamos aquí por ustedes. No están solos. Están de nuestros corazones." We're here for you. You're not alone. You're in our hearts. Many others joined in. The sheriff agreed to allow us to gather at the front of the building and be in the lot, but we had to stay off the grass. Some of those in the procession couldn't resist the pull to offer some sort of connection. They ran over to the window and put their hand on the glass, and a hand was raised to meet theirs on the other side. Like, it made me cry then, seeing it. It's making me tear up now thinking about it. The officers quickly came to where we were gathered, and a cruiser drove into our area of the parking lot. They were going to make us end the event, but agreed to let us move to the front of the building. We said we were off the grass and didn't see why we couldn't stay in that part of the lot off to the side so traffic could easily get through. We wanted to sing a few more songs to the detainees. We remained despite pressure from the sheriff's deputies and then proceeded back to the front. Personally, I knew how important it was to be gathered at that facility as we were, and how tenuous the permission of the rally was. There were arrests there at another rally a year or so ago. In movement work, we refer to the usefulness of what a mentor of mine in the Colorado AIM Council I was a part of, AIM being the American Indian Movement, for some of you guys who might not be familiar. He called it a diversity of tactics, and I thought that was a really concise and clever way to describe it. The person who crossed the side lawn and put his hand on the window was acting as he felt called to do. And who knows how much touching that hand on the outside of that glass while hearing our voices meant to that person on the inside. Who knows what strength it might have lent them amidst all they had been through at that point. And now that my friend had been taken and was in an ICE facility in Butler County, don't get me started on Butler County, y'all. Don't get me started. His face replaced the memory of those faces in those windows. Something that moved me so deeply amongst all the emotions when I heard he was in ICE custody was how he responded to his circumstances. Yellow Springs was mobilizing and gathering all the support we could. Hundreds of letters poured into the judge who had never seen that level of support before. A GoFundMe for family support was started, a meal train, and a fundraiser dinner and a silent auction were held. He was touched by all of this, but also hurting for other detainees who were there without needed support. Some were from other states and didn't know how to contact loved ones to let them know where they were, or to get money on a calling card to reach them even. Some were even here helping rebuild after the tornadoes that we had. Remember the tornadoes, right? There were folks that were here helping our community rebuild, only to be taken and detained by ICE. As he navigated his own crisis, he wanted to know how to help them. That's who he is, and that's how big a heart my friend has. And there are organizations in Columbus and other areas across the state and across the country that are doing just that. They're visiting facilities to check conditions, getting info to connect detainees to resources and more. Hola, Ohio, ABLE, Ohio Immigrant Coalition, and LULAC, as we discussed earlier, are local ones that folks can get involved in, as well as Bridges of Love across the border. The day I heard the news, I wanted to run to the center of town, brown skin unapologetically gleaming, and scream, "Chinga la migra!" until no hay ninguna poder en mis pulmones. I wanted to scream, "Fuck ICE," until there was no breath left in my lungs. So many of us have been doing all we can on this issue and throwing everything we've got at it. But ahora, it's personal. Get ready, ICE, CBP, 47, Musk, Gnome, all the rest of the cronies and goons out there. We coming. Reach out with your heart, even when times seem most desperate, like my friend, and put your hands to work for us all. Join us. Gracias.